Well, good morning, everybody. Here we're on a fine morning this morning and reading Acts 11 and 12. And yeah, this is really interesting as we look at, as we see what it took to bring the Gentiles into the family of believers. And we see, first of all, that God picked an unlikely apostle and teacher for the Gentile church, the one who persecuted the church, and so we see that here he calls Saul, who becomes Paul, and really sets him aside for a season. Although he gets to meet some of the apostles, and it's a number of years. That's the problem with the Bible. We don't really have a good idea of the chronological, the time period that passes. But we know in Galatians he talks about his experience there, and he went into Damascus where he spent a bit of time, but then he left for surrounding areas. He spent about 3 years, 4 years in that area altogether before he went up to Jerusalem. Now, it's when he goes to Jerusalem, we meet somebody else by the name of Barnabas. He was the encourager. And nobody else was willing to take a risk on Paul. Barnabas was. He went and shook hands. And they parted company again. But Barnabas has this way of remembering people. And Paul says he spent a couple of weeks there with Peter. And then they sent him off to Tarsus because he was causing too much trouble. So off he went to Tarsus, where he spent some time in ministry there, but it was really, he was cooling his heels until the time was right. So we have Paul, and now Barnabas is entered into this. There's a partnership that's going to come together later on. So meanwhile, we have Peter now, who is about to be used to open the door for the Gentiles. It's his vision that he received. It's the call to Cornelius's house. He spent time at Cornelius's house, and at Cornelius's house he saw the Spirit fall upon the Gentiles, and he said, "Listen, they're receiving the same thing as us. How can we deny them anything?" So he had that. So that's now reserved. So we have Paul that's reserved. We have the relationship with Barnabas that's reserved, and then we have this experience with Peter that's now reserved. So now we have this thing that's going on. The people are moving out from Jerusalem because of that persecution that had happened, and some of them trickle into Antioch. And in Antioch, wherever the Christians went, they were sharing about Jesus, and so they went into Antioch and they were sharing there, and then some of the Gentiles started receiving. And started receiving the Holy Spirit, were being converted, and this is an odd thing. And so this is the catalyst right here that starts bringing all the elements together, because the apostles and elders here in Jerusalem hear about this, so they dispatch who? Barnabas. They dispatch Barnabas to check this thing out, and he gets there, and Barnabas finds this ministry going on, and he starts taking part, but it's too much. There's too many that are coming to the Lord. They need more help. So Barnabas remembers Paul, and Paul he's really close. He's just over in Tarsus. So he goes over, he gets Tarsus, Paul, he brings him back to Tarsus, and they have this big ministry that's going on with the Gentiles. And then they get challenged on that. Actually, Paul went with Barnabas with an offering, first of all, and apparently in that meeting, he tells us in Galatians, in that meeting, he met with the apostles and the elders, and he laid down his plan of ministry, really his calling and his purpose, and he said nobody came against that. So they went back, and they're empowered now to really be doing things in Antioch. But a group goes to Antioch and start telling everybody, well, they have to be circumcised, they have to come into Moses before they can come into Jesus, and it causes all this confusion. And so off they go back to Jerusalem to go before the council and ask the question, what's required of the Gentiles? And there's this big discussion going on, and Peter stands up and Peter gives his testimony. He says, remember what the Lord has showed me. Remember. And so here we have all the elements coming together. We have Paul, we have Barnabas, we have the Christians who went to Antioch to start this Gentile thing, and then we have Peter, his testimony, and it all comes together so that they draw this conclusion that there isn't much required of the Gentiles at all, because they don't have to become Jews. They don't have to come under the law to be freed from the law. That's the amazing thing, and so. What we should conclude from all of this is that we're not in anything by ourselves. He never calls us to operate by ourselves. He calls us into a group. There's always a team. There's things that are going on. We don't get to plant the seed, water the seed, and harvest the seed. There are others who are involved with it, and we need to make room for that, and we need to celebrate that. And that's an encouraging and wonderful thing that takes place. So you have a great and wonderful day. Look around for those who are part of your team and who are involved in the same ministry as you, and partner with them. Partner with them. So you be blessed. Have a great day.